hideaway headlights, sports car instrument panel with rally clock, handy door pockets, bucket seats.
Remember when cars felt alive? They creaked, they rattled, they smoked a little on cold mornings, but they had soul, character, and a whole lot of quirks. Ashtrays in the armrest, pop-up headlights that blinked like eyelids, and a front seat wide enough to lie down in, sideways. Back then, you didn't drive a car. You rode in an experience. Some features were brilliant, some were bizarre, and some, let's be honest, were just bad ideas with chrome on top. But every one of them told a story. Today, most are gone, tossed out for screens, sensors, and silent rides. So let's rewind. These are 9 car features that once felt normal, but now feel like relics from another world. Remember when the front seat was one big couch? Bench seats stretched across the car like a living room sofa. No center console, no armrest, just one wide seat and room for 3 across. You didn't sit in a bench seat, you slid. Kids bounced from door to door, couples rode close, and Dad always had one arm stretched out like a seatbelt. It felt open, like a shared space. You weren't cut off, you were together. But safety rules changed everything. Bucket seats took over with seatbelts, headrests, and airbags. More protection, but less personality. Today, bench seats are rare. You might spot one in a classic car show or parked at an old diner. And when you do, it's not just the seat you remember. It's who sat next to you and how close you could be without saying a word. Before cars had AC and fancy climate control, you had one option: crack the vent window. It was a tiny triangle near the front seat. You'd flip the latch, angle it just right, and suddenly, fresh air came pouring in. That little breeze felt amazing on a hot summer day, especially when the main window was stuck halfway down, or when your dad refused to waste gas on the AC. And if the dog was in the back seat, that vent window doubled as a mini wind tunnel just for them. But as cars got sleeker and air conditioning became standard, vent windows started disappearing. Designers said they weren't aerodynamic. Translation? They didn't look modern enough. Now those quirky triangle windows are long gone, replaced by tinted glass, automatic climate, and sealed doors that don't let in anything at all. They weren't high-tech, they weren't sleek, but wow, they worked. You'd find one in the door, or behind the seat, sometimes both. Every car had an ashtray, but even if no one in your family smoked, someone's uncle definitely did. And the smell? Let's just say that new car scent didn't last long. These ashtrays weren't just for cigarettes. They held loose change, gum wrappers, half-melted crayons. Some kids thought they were miniature treasure chests until they found the burnt ends inside. And yes, some had built-in lighters, too. You'd push it in with a satisfying click, then wait for it to pop back out, glowing orange. Over time, that little port became the power source for your phone charger, and the ashtray quietly disappeared. Today, most drivers don't even notice it's gone. But for anyone who grew up riding in the back seat, it's a small detail that brings back a very specific memory. That soft little snap, the echo of a time when cars had quirks, and kids noticed everything. The needle dropped, and the whole car held its breath. That was the deal with in-car record players. You could play vinyl as long as the road played nice. A little turntable lived under the dash. You'd slide in a 45, close the lid, and pray the next pothole didn't ruin side A. It sounded scratchy, wobbly, unreal, But if you timed it just right, you could pull out of the driveway with Buddy Holly spinning through the static. No radio DJ, no commercials, just your songs crackling through a moving speaker box on wheels. Parents called it progress. Kids thought it was magic. And for one weird moment, music felt like a luxury you controlled. Of course, it didn't last. Records skipped, needles wore out, and nobody wanted to change an album in traffic. But if you ever sat shotgun, watching that tiny arm dance while the world flew by, you remember it. The hum of the engine, the hiss of the vinyl, and the quiet thrill of playing music in motion. You'd grip the wheel, and just behind it, there it was, a skinny metal stick tucked off to the side. Click it up, click it down. That was your shifter. Before center consoles took over, this was how cars changed gears. On the column, up near your hands, not on the floor between you and the snacks. It wasn't flashy, but it worked. And for decades, it gave front seat riders more room to stretch out. You could slide across the seat like it was a park bench. No gear lever in the way, no clutter, just wide open space. For families, it meant squeezing in one more kid. For teens, let's just say dates got a little cozier. But over time, automakers moved the shifter to the middle, right between the seats. Column-mounted sticks felt old, and center consoles? They looked modern. Today, most drivers don't even know they existed. But if you ever pulled into a driveway with one hand on the wheel and the other on that little stick, you felt in control, like driving really meant something. Still with us? Then you remember how cars used to feel. They had soul, quirks, charisma, character. If any of this sparked a memory, drop it in the comments. We read every one. And if this has you smiling, there's more where that came from. Because up next, we're heading to the roof, where your suitcase rode the wind and packing light wasn't an option. Stick around. The next one's tied down with bungee cords and duct tape. You didn't pack light, you packed everything and tied it to the roof. Before SUVs with endless trunk space, there was the chrome luggage rack, a metal frame bolted to the top of the car, waiting to carry coolers, sleeping bags, or half the garage. You'd pile it high, wrap it in bungee cords or twine, then double-check the knots one more time. Every family had their own system: blankets to protect the paint, garbage bags in case it rained, a prayer that nothing flew off at 65. And when the car finally hit the highway, you'd hear it, that low, windy hum above your head, the sound of summer trips and borderline chaos. It wasn't sleek, it wasn't quiet, but it made the impossible fit. Eventually, cars got bigger, trunks got deeper, and roof racks faded into camping lore. But if you ever rode in the back seat, staring up at your suitcase wobbling in the wind, you remember that strange kind of trust in knots, dads, and duct tape. Before Bluetooth, before texting at stoplights, there was this: a plastic handset bolted to the console like a business line on wheels, the cord stretched out like a landline with a seatbelt. Car phones were the original status symbol. Expensive, rare, a little ridiculous. But if your parents had one, you told your friends, even if it only worked half the time. Sometimes you'd pick it up just to pretend, "Hi, yes, I'm in the car right now." Didn't matter who was on the other end. You were in a car, on a phone. That was enough. They buzzed, they overheated, and those service plans? Yikes. But for a short window of time, they made any car feel important. Then came flip phones, then Nokias, and by the time the iPhone showed up, the car phone had vanished, without a goodbye. Now, all that's left is the weird plastic mount in an old dashboard and a memory of when your car talked back and the future answered. They gleamed in the sunlight, little sculptures leading the way. Hood ornaments weren't just decoration, they were status, style, a silver lady in flight, a wild cat frozen mid-pounce, a bullseye aimed at the horizon. Every brand had its own symbol, and every kid had the same thought. Can I touch it? Some did. Some tried to pry one off like treasure, and some learned they weren't just for show. They were bolted down tight. They looked elegant, but in a crash, not so much. Sharp metal, bad angles. Suddenly, beauty became a safety hazard. By the 90s, most were gone, either flattened, redesigned, or retired in favor of smooth, badge-only logos. But the memory sticks. Standing at the front of the car, running your hand over a cold chrome ornament while your dad filled the tank or cleaned the windshield. You weren't supposed to play with it, but you always did, because it felt powerful, like the car had a crown. You'd hear them before you saw them, that soft electric whir, then click, like a car winking at you. Pop-up headlights were pure attitude, hidden by day. Then bam, lights up, eyes open, ready to go. They were cool for no reason, and that's what made them unforgettable. Kids would wait for that moment at dusk, watching the lights rise from the hood like secret gadgets. They showed up on sports cars, muscle cars, even family sedans. Did it matter if they were practical? Nope. They looked like something out of a spy movie. But time wasn't kind to them. The motors wore out. One light might get stuck halfway. And new safety rules made designers rethink having moving parts on the front of a car. So one by one, they disappeared, replaced by sleeker designs and sealed lights with no drama. For a lot of us, this was the coolest thing a car could do. Those headlights didn't just turn on, they made an entrance. They weren't just features, they were pieces of a time we didn't know was slipping away. A bench seat you could slide across, a vent window cracked open on a summer day, an ashtray that snapped shut with a sound you still remember, a record player under the dash, skipping over potholes, a column shifter you could grip like a handshake, luggage tied down with rope, flapping in the wind, a hood ornament gleaming like a crown at the edge of the road, a car phone with a cord that stretched across your lap, and pop-up headlights that blinked like the car was alive. Back then, the road felt open, the ride felt real, and the car? It felt like part of the family. So if any of that took you back to a smell, a sound, or a ride you never meant to forget, tap the like button, drop your favorite car memory in the comments, and if you want more, just like this, you know where to find us. Stick around for more, because here at Remember This, the past isn't just history, it's home.